Γεια σας! Γεια σας και χαρά σας και καλώς ορίσατε σε αυτό τον υπέροχο, τον φανταστικό, τον φαντασμαγορικό, τον μοναδικό, τον ανεπανάληπτο, τον εξωτικό χώρο του Trace and Chase, όπου ξανανταμώνουμε μετά από καιρό, είναι αλήθεια, αλλά στη δική μας την περίπτωση και στον έρωτα που έχουμε ένθεν και ένθεν, δεν ισχύει αυτό που λέμε μάτια που δεν βλέπονται γρήγορα λησμονιούνται. Είναι άλλο ένα επεισόδιο από το show του Trace and Chase, εδώ και τι σας έχω τώρα σήμερα. Αυτό το μάτια που δεν βλέπονται γρήγορα λησμονιούνται, το ανατρέπουμε όχι μονάχα με τη σχέση την οποία έχουμε οικοδομήσει εδώ στο Trace and Chase και στο show, ανατρέπεται και από το σημερινό καλεσμένο μας που μας έρχεται από Ιταλία μεριά. Είναι και λόγου του ένα Super Mario και νομοποιείται να παραποιήσει τους στίχους ενός περίφημου τραγουδιού που πρωτοκυκλοφόρησε το 1982 μετά το θρίαμβο της Ιταλίας στο Μουντιάλ, του Τότο Κοτούνιο. Είναι το τραγούδι που λέει «Sono un Italiano». Un Italiano vero. Εμείς σήμερα θα το παραχαράξουμε και θα πούμε «Sono un Italiano, un Italiano pazzo». Πάμε ρε φίλε, είναι τρελός.
Είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός, είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός. I still remember.
Of course you remember.
Many years ago now. For me, it's a big surprise to be here with you in this beautiful basement, talking about basketball, talking about Aris, because we have to go back in a memory, back in 97 and 98. So something unbelievable, you know, because the people and you, everybody remind me, so it's a big honor to me.
Λοιπόν, είναι ο Mario Boni μαζί μας. Πολύ αγαπητός, πολύ φίλος, πολύ απ' όλα. Έγραψε ένα πολύ μεγάλο κομμάτι, ένδοξο κομμάτι, στην ούτως ή άλλως ένδοξη ιστορία του Άρη. Σηματοδότησε μια εποχή του ελληνικού μπάσκετ που πάντοτε την νοσταλγούμε. You still crazy? You still pazzo?
No, I would like to be...
Or you get older and you be...
Right, I would like to be still crazy, but, you know, the age is going. And so a little bit relaxed, you know. My life is not more crazy like before.
Do you remember when this slogan, "Είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός," was first heard in the gym or?
I don't remember. It's the way I used to enjoy the basket, you know. I start to clap and raise my arm in front of on the fence of Aris fans, and they start to "Είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός," and every time I was scoring a basket, είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός.
But you don't remember any specific game?
I don't remember exactly the game. No, too many years. So now it seems like είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός always has been, you know, always forever, you know.
There's any moment you're at home or wherever that you sing this slogan?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Sometimes when I have the chance, because every year I come back in Thessaloniki, I go in Kiriki. So every time I come back in Thessaloniki, when I land in Thessaloniki, or I think to Greece, always inside myself is είναι τρελός ο Ιταλός. So I try to speak. I try to remind the Greek, you know, because I love to be inside the culture of a country. But unfortunately, I lost my Greek. So only I know a few words, like καρδιά μου είναι κίτρινη.
Καρδιά μου είναι κίτρινη,
Yeah, είναι κίτρινη. That's it.
How did you end up here in Thessaloniki to play for Aris after Montecatini 25 years ago?
You remember?
How did it happen?
No, it happened, you know, because we have to go back so many years. Back in '96, when a new law came in, it was the Bosman law. Bosman law changed the sports, the European sports. It was the time when the European players can move all over Europe. And so I had the chance, the opportunity to change my career, to change my life, you know, because it was something weird to move another country. And so as long as my agent proposed me to sign for Aris, was something, okay, let's go. I heard about...
Sorry to interrupt you. Have you ever been in Greece before your transfer to Aris?
No.
Like a tourist or
No,
like
never. It was my first time. I remind when I signed the contract, when I came in Thessaloniki to sign the contract, I remind that, and I met Panos Kapazolu. I remember in the airport, the people, when I was waiting for my handbag, I started to see some the fans outside the airport or from the door. And I was asking to myself, who is going in? Who is there? What happened? Who is there in the airport? And then the Kapazolu came in, and the fans are waiting for you. And they start to jump, Ariale, Ariale. And so then I realized something great was coming on.
Let's say that it might be a trailer from your next great moment you experienced with Aris. I mean, when you came back from Bursa, when you came back from after the victories and after the caps and
I remember, that Korac Cup. I remember when we played, because the people maybe don't remember what it means to play Korac Cup, because at that time only one team played the EuroLeague, the Champions League, let's say Champions League, and Olympiacos won the Champions League. The other teams used to play for the Korac Cup. In fact, we beat Benetton, and Benetton won the Italian Championship, and we beat two Tofas, and they won the Turkish Championship. So it was very tough to play the Korac Cup. And in the quarterfinal, we beat Partizan Belgrado, I don't remember, a Yugoslavian team. We beat Peristeri. And then I remember when we won in Treviso, and I scored
26 points.
26 points.
4 3 points.
In the overtime was a very tight game. But okay, that was a game. But then I didn't know what's going on after the game. When we landed in Thessaloniki, and the fans, they stopped, they blocked the airport. They were waiting for the team, and for me especially, And that was the first part. And then the second part, when we lost the home game against Bursa, we lost by 11 points.
66-77, yeah.
And I remember also there was a newspaper of the fans, and there was the first page was all black. Come back with the cup or don't come back.
Or don't come back.
And we came back. We won by 22 points. And then I remember all the people was in Lefkopyrgos to enjoy the victory, because we won an unbelievable victory. Yeah.
Well, we'll come back to this moment, but I would like to ask you, why do you think that people love you? Is your character? Is your temperamento, Mediterranean temperamento?
Yeah, that's for sure, because una faccia una razza, greca Italian almost
it's still valid,
but, No, but I think when you go to play in a team, the character of the fans, they want players feel the emotion of that shirt you wear. It's not enough to be only professional. Okay, that's the first part, because it's your job. You must be professional. Yeah. But most important for the fans is to be part of the culture of the team. That's why I remind when Dinos Angelidis told me, it was the captain. You will see what it means to play with a yellow shirt on your shoulder. And then I realized, since the first game we have against Juventud.
I think, sorry.
Against the Juventud Badalona.
Yeah.
And the Palais de Sport was crowded, all the time.
But it was, before that, you played a friendly game versus Estudiantes.
Badalona, or Estudiantes, Badalona, I don't remember, anyway.
And then you realized for the first moment.
It was strange and weird, because we met each other July 17th, I still remember, because Panos Kapazolu gave me a call. Hey, Mario, you gotta come in Greece, because we start the preparation. I say, July 17th, I'm not a football player, I'm a basketball player, because too early. I know, but and so I came in Thessaloniki, and then we go in Metsovo. We stay away from Greece for almost 2 months. And then we came back for the first friend.
If I remember well, it took time for you to get involved with the team and make the adjustment.
Yeah. We had.
You didn't play.
I think we had Markopoulos as coach.
Sure.
He is a good coach. He was a good coach. Probably it was the first year that the European player moved all around. And so maybe he trusts more in the player he already knew. And so for sure, he didn't know so much the players. Everything changed when Subotic came in the team, And I remind the first game I played was a derby against PAOK, because the team wasn't doing so well. And I remind Subotic look at the bench, almost desperate, desperate. And look at me and say, "Hey Mario, go in." Say, "Okay, I take it." Sometimes in the life you have one chance.
One chance.
You gotta play that chance. I took the chance. I played a good game. And
You beat PAOK?
We lost PAOK.
You lost?
We lost. I played a great game. Like a shooter, rebound, defense, everything. And then my season start. I start to play, and the life changed.
If I'm not wrong, you met each other with Subotic later in Milan, in Jesi.
Jesi, yeah.
And Milan Tomic also.
Milan Tomic now. Milan Tomic is in Milano.
With Ettore
Yeah,
Messina.
the stuff didn't go so well. Anyway, every year the situation changes. It's not always the same. The team, the town, the way you play. Because for sure, when I came in Greece, I played for Aris. I changed my way to play. Because usually in Italy, I'm more offensive player. I'm the best. I'm one of the best scorers in the history of Italian. Sixth if you with the foreign player.
Yeah.
Italians, I'm the third. But for average, I'm the number one.
Yeah.
20 points.
And I think also that when you won the title of the leading scorer in '94, it happened for the first time after the season 1966-67.
Yeah. Was but always
You broke
the best scorer. Always been a great scorer. I changed my way to play here in Greece because I realized there was Panagiotis Liadelis, Piccolino Ortiz, Charles Shackelford. So I want to improve to myself. I could play in a great, in big team. So that's why I couldn't demand to have always the ball in my hands. And we won 2 cups, so though I'm very satisfied.
When you realized that Aris might win the Korac Cup, let's go to the beginning of the season. You've been optimistic that it might
because I didn't know the level of the Greek Championship and the Korac Cup, the level. But when step by step, I realized then after a few months, the team found the real consistency. We start to know each other. And I remember when I was in the court and looked behind to my teammates, I said, "Damn, we are a good team." Because I saw Yannis Shootis, Panagiotis Liadelis, Piccolino Ortiz, Shackelford, and I say, "We are a good team." I saw a big faith in our possibility. Even from Yannis Tavrakopoulos, Yorgos Floros, Dinos Angelidis from the bench, Mike Nahar. We were a good team, So I realized we could beat everyone.
It was strange to play against Benetton Treviso.
Yeah.
I mean, because you grew up, you are Italian.
But big revenge for me, to play again. I want to beat Italians. I want to beat Benetton Treviso, Mike D'Antoni on the bench. For me, it was the game of the life. I want to beat the Benetton because I think I was one of the best small forwards in Europe. Even for the national team, I always call Pittis or call the other players. Say now we're on the court. I want to beat you.
And I will prove that I deserve.
I want to beat your ass. So sorry for. I want to beat your ass. And so that's in the court now. In this moment, I want to show you I can beat you. And that was a big deal, because Benetton, as I told you, they won the Italian championship. So for Aris, beat Benetton in their home court was a big satisfaction.
It was one of probably was one of the best games in your career. The game there
that level,
in Palaverde.
But I play. I won
international level.
International, for sure. One of the best game because I score in overtime. I had 9 points. Before was 10, and then you remember one 3 they put like 2. I had big overtime, and for the heavy of the game. For sure, probably the best game of my life in an international game.
And then are the finals against Tofas. What happened in the first game here in Thessaloniki?
for the game, you know, when you play
They surprise you?
No, but against such a good team, because Bursa was a good team. Rashad Griffith as a point, Galanovic, the two Turkish guys playing the national team. Good team, super team. So sometimes if something wrong, it's easy to lose the game. We lost by 11. But we realized in the locker room, as soon as the game was over, we realized okay, now we're going in Turkey and we beat them. In fact, the pressure in the Thessaloniki, the pressure was on us. When we went in Turkey, the pressure was on top of us.
On the Turkey side.
And then I don't want to say they were scared, but so much pressure, you know, was heavy on their shoulder. And then they start to miss, and I start to score. Everybody in our team score. You know, we could shoot from everywhere. We could score. I scored 20 points, 6 on 7 from 2, 2 on 2 on 3 points, and 2 on 2 free throws. So perfect game. Everybody had a perfect game, and we won it.
Yes, and it was a fantastic game and then triumph.
I imagine you guys.
Yeah.
I imagine you here in Greece. Everybody was watching the game on TV. Yeah, I imagine. Unbelievable.
And then you came back, and it was this welcome from the fans.
I remember when we get into the bus and we start to move from the airport to downtown, and all the windows there were flags of Greece and of Aris, you know, and so because we know about the problem between Greece and Turkey, so it was a big revenge and something special. I couldn't believe, you know, so many people at the airport. Yeah. The people was around the plane, so they stopped, they blocked the airport. Unbelievable.
How did you change? How did you manage to change your mindset and your mentality between the first and the second game? Did it happen any incident? I'm talking about incident, not a fight or whatever, but maybe somebody, Coach Subotic or any player tried to move you and to motivate you?
When you have a good players, we were good players. We knew we had a bad game. And say, okay, we had one bad game. Impossible, 2 bad games in a row. So if we are men, we go on the court, we know we don't care about to be in on the road game. You know, we don't care if in Turkey, so many crowd, so many people. And you remember when it was about 50 seconds to go, the fans start to throw everything on the court, and the army came in with the shields, you know, to protect. And so, but in the locker room after the first game, we just look each other in the eyes, you know, and realize, okay, we lost the first one, we'll go back and kick their ass.
February 1st, 1998 is a special situation. I'm talking about the Greek Cup final against AEK.
Yeah, it was because...
Before that, you beat Panathinaikos by 16, 17
yeah, but
points.
The situation was strange because we had money problem. The club had money problem. So Tit Sok, the point guard, left to go back in Estonia, I think something. José Piccolino Tit left. So the situation was not so clear, you know, because me too, I was ready to go to Roma to play. But we had the chance to play the Greek Cup in Thessaloniki. It's not the same to play, you know, everybody is watching now TV. I know, one is to play in Athens, and the other side is to play in Thessaloniki. Thessaloniki play in our home court. And so, okay, even if we don't have the point guard, Piccolini left the team, but we have the pride, we have the soul, we have the honor to wear the yellow shirt of Aris. So, if they have to win Panathinaikos, because we play the semi-final against Panathinaikos, if they have to win the game, they have to demand, they have to really to win the game, because we put our heart on the court. In fact, we put our heart on the court. And we
because
have
you have already changed coach, Kimodzoglu left, and then Christos Magotskios took over the bench.
Yeah. And we beat Panathinaikos with Dino Raja, Byron Scott.
Half NBA team.
Yeah. Such a good team.
And Subotic was the coach.
And Subotic was the coach, bravo. And so, and the next day we beat AEK Athena with Ioannidis, Koldebella, Alexander,
Atrouia,
Piacic, and the other Greek guys.
Hadjis,
Kakousis, yeah. We had a big game, big honor also.
Did you already say something to you at the end of the game?
Ioannidis,
I
I reminded Ioannidis came to me and say, "You are a great player. I hope to coach you once in a while." Yeah, I remember that.
That was the last game you played with Aris?
Yeah.
The Greek Cup final?
Was the last game. After that, after 2 days or next day, I left. I came back in Roma.
It was no possibility for you to stay and to keep playing here.
You know,
It was the money.
The situation. We are professional, you know, and we just what I did is say I couldn't want money, keep the money, you know, for Aris. I'll just go because you know that's my job, you know. Everybody, if you're a plumber or you are whatever, everybody, you know, here who has job, you must earn your money. That's why I left, you know. Okay, I have a very good offer from Roma. Anyway, I didn't sue Aris. I say, keep it. I don't want it. Yes.
You remember this? I think that it happened at the end of the Greek Cup final when you went up to the tribune with the drum.
With the drum, yeah. You know, when you're crazy, you know, you're crazy. Everybody was crazy. Everybody was happy. And when you're so happy, it's something like you're drunk. And so you didn't realize. Somebody took my jersey, and the fans came to me. I started to beat on the drums. You know, it was a big victory.
You probably heard that beginning of February, I mean last February, less than 2 months ago, Aris beat Panathinaikos at Wacker. And it happened for the very first time after 27 years when you played another great game to beat Panathinaikos at Wacker.
We beat
with Liadelis, and you drove the team to this victory.
We had a big game. I remember we were up by many points, and then the Panathinaikos came back, you know, and the referee was a bit scared because the Panathinaikos fans start to throw drachmas. There was drachma, stone, everything. So the referee was a little bit nervous. And so they came back, but still we won the game.
2 points, 79-77.
Yeah, something like that. And then we ran to the locker room because the fans started to throw everything, so unbelievable.
After that, and after you left Aris to be back to your country and play for Roma, was any possibility for you to come back and play with Aris?
No, not really.
Did you get any offer?
No, because I started to be a little bit, you know, when I came in Aris, I was already 33 years old. So 2 years, and then I started to play. I went in Spain. I remember. I went in Spain. Yeah, it depends. You know, when you play, there was not internet like or Instagram or WhatsApp where you stay in touch with general manager, whatever. You have your agent, and the agent say, okay, you have this chance, you want this money or this one, and that's it, you know. And that's why the life took a different lane.
But you know, the people have the impression that you played not 1 year and a half, but you spent here 5 years.
Bravo, it seems like that.
Because there is a connection with the Greek culture and the intensity of the moment.
I wish.
And of course the success.
Yeah, but it didn't happen. But bravo, it seems like that. I play here only 1 year and a half, but it seems like I play here 10 years, you know, for the feeling we have.
Yeah. How's the life here, apart basketball? The life in Greece?
Good, because the life, I used to stay in Kalamaria, you know, so, okay, there's so much traffic like every big town, but there is the sea, so I could walk by the sea, I could go in Alkidiki, I have some friends, I met many friends who could speak Italian, you know, it was a big community, so good life, I had a good life.
You still have relations?
Yeah, I still relation with some friends, Taverna. And every time, not so much now, when I walk on the street, somebody, hey Mario, what's going on? Tikanis, hola cara. So, you know.
And you are come very often for holidays?
Yeah, always. I used to come 3, 4, 5 times a year, only in Thessaloniki, just to eat the Greek food. And for summertime, I always go in Alkidiki, in Agios Mamas, always.
How did you decide to play basketball? It was because of your size, or?
No, I used to play football, soccer, like the Americans say. Then my mother pushed me to play basketball because I was always fight, in football. So my mother say, Mario, is about time to stop, go to play basketball, and that's the way I started.
Did they have? I mean, the parents, did they have any relation with basketball or sports?
No. It was about me. I was born close to Milano, in a small town close to Milano, and so I started to play basketball. That's it. That's my story. Then the level, step by step, 5th league, 2nd league, top league. That's when you have to improve yourself.
Back then, did you have any preference or any decision in your mind as a kid what to become in your life?
No. I thought to be
doctor or lawyer.
No, lawyer, probably lawyer. Went to the university, study in Milano to study like a lawyer. But then when I move from one town to the other town, I have no more chance to study. My mind was on basketball and live like a player. You should stay with the mind focused if you want to study. That's a big. I would like to go back in the time, keep my mind on the books, but the life took a different story.
Although, as you told earlier, you changed your style after you came to play here, to play for Aris, from a great prolific scorer to another type of player. When you realized that you are a good shooter and you are a great scorer.
But I was...
what's the nickname?
Mitraglia. Machine gun. I always been a scorer. Only when I came here in Greece, I would say, I can demand always the ball in my hand. And so it was Aris, Greece was like a parenthesis, like a parenthesis of my life. When I came back in Italy,
again.
Or wherever, I go, I'm the man. I want the ball in my hand.
You didn't forget score, of course.
Yeah, give me the ball, and then I decide the way you play. That's the way.
You feel nostalgia from the era you played with your gemello, Andrea Nicolai?
We played 5 years together, and he was in Benetton. Do you remember?
Yeah. Of course I remember.
I remember he came...
And then he moved to Roma.
Before.
To play, and he played together with Raja.
Bravo. He played together with
Messaggero.
Yeah, Messaggero. When we played against Benetton, the night before, he came to my house to visit me. Hey, Mario, because good say. I say, okay, Andrea, now go in bed, go back in the hotel. We see tomorrow in the car, in the court. And say, we live in Montecatini both. Now he coached close to years and so.
Yeah. Do you feel underrated or overachiever?
Underrated,
I mean, because I have always the question, why the big Italian clubs didn't trust you?
Bravo, underrated, yeah, because my character probably.
My character, because a bad guy?
No, I remember because Coach Messina was a national team, he always get cut.
You played just one time?
Yeah.
One game against
Unbelievable.
Czechoslovakia?
Yeah, something. I always get cut before, every summer they call me for the national team, and then I get cut. I remind, bro, when I met Ettore Messina, I remind what you said. My big mistake in national team is when I cut Mario Boni, Ettore Messina. Yeah, because I was the best player when back in 92, 93, 94. But I get cut, but the way I used to play, I remind, Messina asked me, put the ball in to the big man. I say, no, why? Why should I give the ball to the big man? The big man come to set a screen for me. So that's the way I used to play,
Yes, it's a surprise that such a great scorer didn't play. Okay, you played for Virtus Bologna, but back then Virtus Bologna played in second division.
Probably because people think that I was too big ego, too much selfish.
Yeah.
Maybe I think. Probably it was true. But that's the only way I could play. Only in Aris, parenthesis, The rest always the way.
And I think that you have a record of promotions.
Yeah, 11.
11?
11.
I thought that was about 6 or 7.
No, 11. 11 all category.
All categories. How do you manage to handle with the adversities, the controversies, the problems, the adventure in your career?
But because
You built a strong character to
as,
deal with
as
this.
long as something happened to me, I close the door. I don't think. In Italy we say, don't think to the milk down.
Yeah.
Is the way to say. Whenever it happened to me, I shut the door. Okay, I look forward. I don't look back. It doesn't mean anything, you know. So keep strong and go ahead. Don't cry.
It has been a great adventure what happened with this doping case.
Yeah, doping case was unbelievable back in '94. Yeah, when the doctor, you know, had a problem. I had a problem. The doctor, yeah, it was together. We missed together. Anyway, I don't cry on myself. You know, I locked the door behind me and went in the States. I play in the States. I played 1 year in the States, like Memphis.
Memphis Fire and Yakima Sun
Kings. Before San Diego, yeah, 1 year. Good life. But I never thought to. I never cry on myself. You understand what I mean? I just keep going on.
You played until the age of 43 in professional level, and 7 more years as an amateur.
Well, amateur in Italy, you can.
You retired in 51.
I retired really 56.
56.
No, you know, because I play very low. Like,
for the joy of the game. Okay, for the
joy of the game, to play with my son. But making money, let's say, be clear, making money until 51, yeah. I want to die on the court, you know. That's, you know, is the same when you are a plumber or you are an engineer or you are an economist. You know, when you learn a job, okay, why should I retire,
Sure.
you know? I have fun.
Did you take care of your body?
Yeah, always take care, yeah. I was lucky because no injury, no knees, no ankle, okay, some sprained ankle, but no big problem in my body.
And this is the reason because you didn't follow a coach career? I mean, the fact that you retired very late?
Because I don't like to coach.
You don't like
I don't like to coach, no. I like only to play. And then that's why I improve myself in other job, you know. Now I have a company, I start 2001 to sell and buy houses from the court. And I did this. I worked for television for 10 years. So that's my big goal is to improve myself outside basketball. You know, I say, okay, one job, basketball was good. Let me see what I do outside the court. And now, you know, pretty good.
Have you seen any player playing like you?
No, the
style,
you know, in Italy,
the way we are shooting.
Because now I work also for the Italian Union, basketball union. You know? So I travel all the court. So I meet all the coaches and say, for agonismo, for my way to play basket, no one is like me. Because I could die on the court, you know. I could die. For me, it's like a war to be on the court. No friend, no relationship, nothing. It's a war. Me against you. That's it.
Do you think that the modern players have not this motivation and the willing to die on the court?
No, it's definitely different, you know. The
They're
way
more professional.
The way we grew up, I remind that my father gave me his shoes, you know.
Yeah?
Yeah, his shoes, because now it's impossible, you know. The kids have a mobile phone, they want a Nike shoes new, they want a new T-shirt, they want a... It's different, you know. They have so much. It's not like our generation, you know, where we want to bite a new life. And that's a big difference. There's the young players are not like us.
Here we have in this fantastic place, we have a museum of Kobe Bryant. You have a story with Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant, you know,
grew up in Italy.
We have a good relation with his father, Joe Bryant, because
Jelly Bryant, yeah.
Joe Jelly Bryant, because when he used to play in Pistoia and Montecatini, the derby, play against. Then we go for a camp, basketball camp, up to the hill of close to Florence. Me and the Bryant family. So I met Kobe Bryant and the sisters. But And Joe Biden was a very, very polite guy.
Yeah.
But I remind before.
You play against him, yeah.
Excuse me?
Against Kobe Bryant.
Kobe Bryant played some.
No. I mean, you play against his father.
Yeah, play against his father.
And also, probably you played against Daniel Hackett's father.
Yeah. And then I remind Kobe Bryant in an interview years ago, for sure, before he died, when they asked him, a famous magazine, and say, ask him, what players do you remember in Italy? I say, I remind Mario Boni was such a good player. So I have that magazine. And I remember because he was 13 years old. And so he used to play on the camp outside, you know. I used to play against Kobe. Where he was tall like that, you know.
Did you have any special relationship or any game against Greek team before your stint with Aris?
I remind when we have, was reminded at the moment a few weeks ago in Italy, I play against Nick Gallis, Panagiotis Giannakis, Arjan Komazek, and Vrankovic, I guess, when they play in Panathinaikos.
In Panathinaikos, 92-93, yeah.
In friendly game in Sicily, because Panathinaikos moved in Sicily. I remind that game. I'm surprised to play against Nick Gallis, you know. He was a hero of Greece, you know. And
have you ever met him here in Thessaloniki?
I tell you a story. After we won the Korac Cup, I remember I stayed for the Greek Easter here in Greece. And so I went to somewhere up to the mountain to enjoy the Easter. Everybody was with a candle, you know, remember? I was walking across. And on the side, in the corner, was Nick Gallis. So I went to him and say, hey, it's an honor to meet you, Nick. I say, you are a great player. Congratulations for your victory. Thank you, Nick. And so for me, I met Nick Gallis.
Did you have any player, probably any legend, as a role model when you start playing basketball? From the Italian side or NBA or?
No, just now when I see this player, for sure Michael Jordan, you know, history is, I think, is the best player ever in NBA. But personally, no, you know, there's no any model, no pro player. Just keep playing and that's it. No
best
model.
teammate?
Best teammate? Several great teammates, you know. Andrea Nicolai for sure. Stefano Truia, played with me in Roseto. Giacomo Zatti, you don't know, a point guard from Bologna, played with me in Montecatini. So, but when I used to play, even when my teammates in the court, I have to beat my teammates because somebody want to steal my place, you know. So it's always a war, you know, like a normal job. I think everybody has a job, you know what's going on.
Most difficult opponent to score against him, to play against him?
I think Rigado and Gianluca Basile. I think it was really difficult to play against them, yeah.
And which moment of your career you consider the greatest?
After 30 years old. When I came back from the doping story, when I came back from the United States, and I played 1 year in Montreal, then I moved in Aris, back in 96. From there, my best 10 years. Like a player. Okay, for sure, before I was a instinctive player, scorer, too much selfish. After, still selfish, but more complete, you know.
And the worst moment?
Worst moment, when I get cut from the national team, yeah, for sure. When they cut me every year from the national team, I question to myself, why they cut me? I'm the best player and they cut me. I was impossible, but the way it is.
Is there any game that you would like to play it again? For any reason. Maybe because you played great, or because you suffered a loss,
but you know,
and you would like to take the revenge.
When you get older, you forget everything bad moment. You only remind the good moment. So,
have you ever cried because of basketball, because of a defeat, or?
Yeah. I used to cry also before. You know, my idea is when you give everything on the court, you can lose the game. And so, but you're honest with yourself. So sometimes for the nervous, for the agitation, you use to cry before the game or puke, throw up before for the tension. But after the game, no, because I used to give everything on the court. So when you give everything, you relax. If the opponent are best of you, you shake their hand and say, "Okay, you won. Congratulations. I gave everything of me."
Mistake that you regret for? Maybe a bad decision or...
Maybe when I moved, when I left Teramo, Abruzzo team, I decided don't live away from that town, and then I moved to Iesi. Maybe I had to think a little more, to be more calm, to pick the team. And so, but not so important, not so important.
In your autobiography, when you write a book with your story, going to the Aris chapter, which is the headline?
Aris, the way I changed my life.
The way I changed my life.
Yeah.
And how do you feel now? Because you came back, you came back many times for holidays.
Yeah.
Here in Thessaloniki, you have connections, you have relationship. But now to be part of the 110 years anniversary.
When somebody come here, I don't know who, maybe you gave me a call or somebody gave me a call, hey, there is 110 years old of the history of Aris, big honor. I spoke with my fiancée, they say, hey, I have to go back in Thessaloniki, I'm part of this big history. I'm very proud. And then I told all the person know me, even I say, oh, congratulations, with, honest heart, I say, it's a big honor to be here. The only one Italian.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
You're always a good friend.
Arianos.
You feel Arianos forever.
I feel Arianos forever.
Bocca lupo.
In bocca al lupo. Viva il lupo.
Thank you. And one more time, just to finish, the way we start the interview.
Inetrelos, Italos, Inetrelos, Italos. Ciao, guys.